Hey guys, so I thought while I was in town, I would do a review, just a kind of quick, this is kind of off the cuff slash a little crude review. I am house sitting right now, so I'm not in my house, but I wanted to pick up a few comic books because I haven't been collecting a whole lot lately. I have actually done quite a bit with my collection, but I wanted to support my local comic stores at my hometown. And so I kind of waited on a few stories that I've been wanting to pick up, and I just picked them up. And one of those was Superman Smashes the Klan. This is by Gene Yang. And he did, what was the other one? American Born Chinese. He also did that book as well. I picked up the single issues of this, or the single, like one, or like it was a 3-part miniseries that came out relatively recently, and I picked those up, but I never read them because I was really busy moving at the time, and I just didn't really have the time. I didn't read a lot of comic books then. I picked them up so I could get back to them, and I'm still happy I have those in my collection. But I thought I would pick up the trade because I love the concept and I love the story that it's based off of so much that I thought I might as well pick it up. And this is considered a graphic, it's considered graphic novels for young adults, which I think is kind of interesting because I think this will turn away comic book readers, or adults who I think comic book readers like myself will read it, but I think people who are not like active comic book readers won't pick this up, and I think that's a shame. Because this is not just a kid's story. And I know the art can kind of throw some people off, but I'm going to get into that too. But yeah, this is a 3-issue miniseries, and they just released it on a full collection. It just came out, and it's kind of in this nice little smaller paperback kind of. It's just a really cool way of doing it, and it's a little bit bigger than the ones that came out individually, but it's also like smaller than a normal trade. But I love it. I really like it. It's a really nice book. But anyways, Superman Smashes the Klan is loosely based off of the 1940s Superman radio serial episode. There's 16 episodes in the radio serial called The Clan of the Fiery Cross. And basically what happened was there was a guy who had some inside, when the Ku Klux Klan was making its resurgence in the 1940s after the war, or around the war, they were, their numbers were growing, and there was a guy who basically got inside information on some of how they function, how they work, some of their tactics, some of their code names, things like that. And he was going to take it to the police, who didn't want anything to do with it. They just didn't do anything with it. They didn't want to start a big issue. And so he had a friend over who was in charge of some of the stuff going on with the Superman radio serial, and he said, why don't we, if you're okay with it, why don't we put it there? And they agreed. And so long story short, the episode is Superman versus the Clan of the Fiery Cross, which is kind of the fictional but real version of the Ku Klux Klan, and they basically ousted the white supremacists in the country who were making their resurgence almost down to zero. I mean, it was so they said that it was so effective that people would go to Klan rallies just to make fun of the Klan. They would go and actually taunt them and things like that. That's how much of a influence Superman was back in the 1940s, but also how much of an influence the radio was as well. This is loosely based off of that, and it's a story about Roberta and Tommy Lee, who just recently moved with their family from Chinatown, kind of like the Chinatown in New York, but in Metropolis, to Metropolis proper, the city of Metropolis. And they feel like they're kind of trying to assimilate into the white society and into everyday life. Their father picked up a job as he's a scientist, or he's a doctor, but he picked up a job with the city, and they got a nice house and everything. And the Clan of the Fiery Cross is not happy with that, and their faction, they make a faction in Metropolis and make themselves known. So it's up to Roberta and Tommy Lee to kind of stop that, and Superman. And so what people, I think, get wrong about this is there's a lot of really sensitive, angry people out there who see this and they think it's a very preachy, very like it's just there to just tell a lesson and make white people feel bad or something like that, which I think is stupid in the first place. But they think that this doesn't really, they're just using Superman as a way to send a message, which in a way they are, and they did it in the 40s too, in a good way though. Superman is such an influential character, and everybody really looks up to him and listens to him, that they're able to kind of give you different perspectives on people and our problems in the world through him. And they think that this isn't a Superman. They haven't read it really. They don't think it's a Superman story. They think about it. They think it's just about Roberta and Tommy, and they don't get it. I will say to their credit, when I first saw this, I was very excited to read it from the moment they announced it, and I saw the art and things like that. I was very excited, but I was also a little worried that it would be, it's going to be more about certain characters and not Superman, even though it's called Superman Smashes the Klan. And not only was I wrong, but I was also right, but I'm glad that I was right, if that makes sense. This is very much about Roberta and Tommy, and it's about their struggles through the 1940s, of how they were treated differently. But it's written so organically and so well. I think it's because it was written by a Chinese American, and so they had Gene kind of had a good way of telling it, because it's some things he experienced himself, and so it's I think as much as it's a lesson and as much as it's teaching a lesson, it's also a good story. Not only is it just that, it's a really good Superman story. This is a very good Superman origin story. I'm gonna try not to spoil too much, but this kind of fills in questions about Superman from the 1940s and Superman now. Back when Superman was first created, he couldn't fly. He could only leap tall buildings in a single bound. He didn't use a lot of other powers. He ran fast, he jumped high, he had super strength. And he did some things here and there, but then, they started adding to his power set, and they started giving him flight and things like that. This may not be the first time, but from what I can tell, this is the first time I've seen them bridge those into continuity. I know this isn't DC Universe proper, but it's a very good way of explaining the history of Superman in the universe, and why when you first read the issues from the late 1930s by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, why he's so different compared to what he is now. This bridges that a little bit, almost like Batman Long Halloween does with normal gangster villains to supervillains and how they came to be. This kind of does that. So it's really good at doing that. It's also a really good origin story of Superman without starting from the beginning. Superman has been Superman for a while in this, but he also doesn't have all of the answers. And the way that they take Superman's origin and the structure they tell it in this and the pacing, combined with what Roberta and Tommy are dealing with, and then adding the Clan of the Fiery Cross and the whole one nation, pure, one color, everything, and you mix all that into this book, it's very well done, and it's very organic how they do it. I was actually very impressed with that, because I thought it might feel a little choppy, but it was actually really, really well done. I was just sitting there going, this is this is one of the best Superman stories I've ever read. And a lot of people will roll their eyes and say, well, it's because it's talking about racism and things like that. I'm like, yeah, that's one thing, and that's a good thing. But also, you take all of that out, and it's a great Superman story as well. And it's really, really well done. There are a couple other really great characters in this. I really like the representation of Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. They're very typical to their 1940s counterparts, which is awesome. There's a couple other characters in this that I don't want to give away what they are necessarily, because I think you would enjoy it more. Just read. I mean, obviously read this. I'm not going to go into the details because you want to see it play out because it's one of those stories that you can tell kind of where it's going, but you're excited to know where it's going. It's not like, oh, I already know what's going to happen, this is boring now. I'm excited to see how they do this in the story. But there's a couple other characters. There's a boy in Metropolis who's a pitcher who Tommy is a better pitcher, and he is jealous by that and upset, and he has a lot of pent-up hatred towards Tommy and Tommy's race, and that turns into something where the kid has to go through his own trials and tribulations within himself of what he believes, not what his family believes. Why am I feeling this way? And do I embrace that? Do I embrace how I'm feeling in a good way by not becoming what everyone else becomes because I'm aware of how I'm feeling? Or do I just continue on this line of why we feel this way and why why we're better and things like that? So he's a great character. He goes through a lot. The art is very good. I was a little concerned when I first saw it. I thought it was a little kiddie at first when I saw some of the original images, and I thought it was a little too simple. But then the more I read it, the more I realized it's like Superman or Batman the Animated Series. It's very simplistic but detailed, and it's beautiful art. A lot of the art in this is just so well done. The character designs are very distinct, even though it's simple. But like I said, there's also a lot of details in the expressions and in everything. And one of my favorite designs of Superman is in the animated series. So this is kind of taking kind of a nod to that a little bit, I would say. It also does a very good job of establishing the time period, which is great. This story is great in many ways. It's great from a lesson standpoint. It's great from a superhero story standpoint, an origin standpoint, but it's also a great history book. I mean, it's not this isn't based off of a true story or anything, but the stuff that happens in this really happened when it comes to what was going on in the time and how things were back then and how things are today to a degree as well. I think if I had any other complaint about this book, I would say is probably the last bit, like the very end, I think is a little rushed. I like where it all ends up. I like where it goes. I like where the climax is set. It makes sense where the climax is set. But I think some of the foreshadowing towards the end that was going on throughout the whole book is there are things that they forget about for a long time in this, and then they don't come back to it until like the last 2 pages, and then they kind of just wrap it up really quick. I think that's the one thing that it kind of ended a little abruptly for me. I thought there would be a little bit more closure between all the different things they set up when it comes to Superman's origin, when it comes to Roberta and what she's doing, her family, the villains. They establish a character at the very beginning of this who is in the first couple pages, and Superman takes him out quick, and he kind of is looming in the background the whole time as a he's not really looming as like he has a plot, but he's gonna come back, or there's gonna be something that has to do with him that's going to appear at the end, and it does, but not in the way I expected, and it's not as satisfying as I quite wanted it. So it didn't quite hit the mark at the very end. However, Where it does end is a very, it's logical. It makes perfect sense, and I guess it just wasn't as satisfied with that. This is a great book. I highly recommend picking it up. Don't have any preconceived notions on it. Go into it blind. And I mean, I'm sure if you've seen some things about it, that's fine. I did, but I really was just happy to sit and read the whole thing all at once. Pretty much, I almost read it in one sitting. The only reason I didn't is I was so into it. I was like, I don't want it to end. I want to keep reading it. I like this universe. I like how it's set up. I would like honestly more in this version of Superman. If they made a sequel to this in any way, I'd be very happy with that. I think Roberta is a wonderful new character, very similar to Lois Lane, which they talk about, and I love the way her arc ends. So yeah, I mean, they introduce new characters in this. They have old characters that they kind of reinvent, and especially Superman. So I don't see why they couldn't branch off and maybe make one or two more of these just with different scenarios, because the characters are so distinct in this specific universe. They could totally do it. But yeah, that's Superman Smashes the Klan. You can pick it up. It just came out not too long ago. You can pick it up. I got mine from my local comic book store, but you can get it at Barnes & Noble. You can get it digitally. If you're a comic book collector and you don't collect trades, they do have the 3 miniseries issues. It's 3 issues, and they're you can pick those up too pretty much anywhere, Amazon, eBay, comic book stores. You can have them order them for you. But yeah, Superman Smashes the Klan. I was very happy with this, and there's also some really great notes at the end from the writer, kind of going through the history of what happened in his history growing up and what he dealt with, and it's great. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about it. I appreciate you guys watching this video, and I will see you guys on the next one.